Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another late for class video on the way home, actually, from a long day here. But I wanted to talk about something that actually stemmed from one of my classes today. I was working on the heroine archetype today in my mythological archetypes class, my heroic archetypes class, talking about Wonder Woman ultimately. But we were talking about, and I actually didn't even lead the students into this, they picked it out on their own. We had previously talked about Batman and the detective archetype, and I pointed out in Batman the Long Halloween how one of Tim Sale's methods as an artist is to find one aspect of a character, usually their face, one aspect of their head or their face, but some aspect of their body in general, to exaggerate and accentuate to say something expressionistically about that character. So, for example, Batman is exaggerated with the nice strong chin, the tall ears, because he's the square-jawed hero, the bat, the element of fear and everything that he drives into villains. The Joker, exaggerated, hugely exaggerated grin, there, of course. We talked about things like that. And then I had them read a Wonder Woman comic today, specifically Wonder Woman Gotham is On. I always cringe to assign them anything that Gail Simone worked on, but it's one damn fine thing she did work on, and she did it with Ethan Van Sciver's amazing art attached to it, and it works very well for the heroine archetype, which bridges boundaries, because you have Wonder Woman in that story being pressured to solve Gotham problems in Batman's way, but she decides to do it on her own, which is a great thing. And she, the way she has all the villains kind of confront their inner demons is just perfect. So we talked about that, and one of the comments the students had was, "Oh yeah, we see the accentuating aspect to the character's art design here as well. Look at Wonder Woman." I thought, okay, so you guys are onto something. So I asked, it was a couple of girls who made this comment anyway, and I said, what specifically do you see accentuated? And they said, well, her boobs, right? I was like, did you do? I said, that is okay. We talked about how I've got a whole video on the heroine archetype where I go into all of this, and I've made plenty of videos on Wonder Woman arguing for this. But when you have an iconic feminine character, you don't portray her as a beanpole. That's just not how iconography works. That's not how symbolism works. Symbolism is not subject to these damn social agendas, which is all about my representation and all of that nonsense. I don't want Superman to have a dad bod so that I can relate to him. That's ridiculous. So the iconic masculine is going to be strength in upper body. You're supposed to see those muscles. The iconic feminine is going to have, as I've said many times before, accentuated breasts and hips, because that is the feminine nurturing aspect. Babies are birthed between hips and nursed at the breast. That is the uniquely feminine trait, and those two parts of the body are uniquely feminine in their role and their operations. It's not coming from a place of sexualization. The breast wasn't even sexualized for certain parts of human history. You go into tribal cultures, you'll see pictures of tribes at different parts of the world or whatever, and women are running around topless. That's because to them, there's nothing sexual about the breasts in that manner, in the same way it would need to be covered like other sexual nudity or something like that. So the idea that big breasts and hips on women characters, oh, it's so sexist, it's the patriarchy, blah, 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 blah. That's just coming from a very narrow-sighted, narrow way of thinking from the feminist agenda, and it's simply not true. It's those parts of the body are feminine in their purpose, and that's why they're accentuated for the iconic feminine. Now, you can sexualize characters, that's a completely different thing, of course, but just accentuating those aspects of a character does not automatically make it sexualized. So let's apply this to some of the nonsense we see going on in comics and certainly in film. With Captain Marvel, they were very careful not to give Captain Marvel a suit in any way that accentuated her feminine form. If that movie had been made in any other decade, certainly, that would have been a much more form-fitting, a skin-tight suit. And no, it's not because of the male gaze. Again, this is just this dumbass, narrow-minded. Feminists cannot. They're incapable of looking at art in any other capacity other than, is it fair to women? This is how short-sighted they are, and how shallow their thinking and appreciation of story, art, film, and all of that is, because they can't consider it in any other way. They've got their pet platform, and that's all they can push in the world. That's all they can think about. So that's not the case, but we had to put Captain Marvel in that. She couldn't have any kind of overtly feminine traits whatsoever. And of course, this was started in the comic book, Kelly Sue DeConnick's comic, long before they decided to turn around and put this into the film. And we see this in a lot of other of the Marvel characters, and we're going to see it increasingly pushed into the MCU, according to Kevin Feige. I mean, he's already said at times that, I think he's went ahead and said, yeah, that they want to bring Kamala Khan in and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure. But you're going to see that kind of stuff introduced in every new female character. You're never going to get a overtly feminine character by any means anymore, because that's somehow bad now. Women aren't allowed to be feminine anymore. We can't have that. We need our new She-Ras. We need our, that kind of nonsense. Look for the Black Widow movie, and I'm excited. I was as excited as I am that Black Widow's finally getting her much deserved movie. I almost don't want her to have it at this point. Something's going back over there with the sirens. But I almost don't want her to have it at this point because of the direction that the universe is going in. I do not trust this new unmasked Kevin Feige to allow the Black Widow movie to be a natural progression of her character. I really don't. I look for them to try to gender theory it up. They're going to try and deconstruct her feminine somehow or another. I hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised a bit. So that's a real problem there. It's so many storytellers are just afraid to show men as masculine and women as feminine anymore, because they've bought into this lie of third wave and intersectional feminism, that there's no difference between men and women. I'm sorry, there is. There are innate biological differences between men and women. Now, there are exceptions, of course. You can't simply say it's all across the board in every single way, but scientists have determined different male and female brain types that for the most part are pretty accurate. We know obviously that men are given, or naturally anyway, for the most part, are given to more physical upper body strength. Women won't necessarily have that necessarily, so there are differences. You can't tell me that, does the male body somehow not have a greater portion of testosterone and the female body somehow not have a great portion of estrogen? Is that somehow not the case? So are you going to tell me then that those chemicals don't have a specific effect on personalities and moods and ways of thinking? Of course they do. Of course they do. So this nonsense that men and women are the same, there's no difference whatsoever, that's where all this comes from. And you have these storytellers, whether it's in comics or film or whatever, just so desperate to be politically correct that they suddenly don't know how to portray a masculine hero or a feminine heroine or a damsel or whatever she may be. This is the case with other films we've seen, and it's been a progression. I mean, you look at Frozen, for example. Frozen's a good movie, but it was a step in this direction. It's nowhere near the step all the way in this direction that everything else is. But the key decision to have it not be a true love's kiss that breaks the spell in the end, rather it's the love between two sisters. That was a conscious step in this direction. Again, I don't think it was a step so far in this direction that it makes it a bad movie, because it was developed. It was the seeds for that were planted in the beginning of the film. But the reason that Frozen still works is because you have two of those main characters. You have Elsa and Anna. Elsa is not a character who's looking for a love interest. We've talked about before how the feminine hero's journey, the female hero's journey, is to tame the beast somehow. Tame a metaphorical beast or a literal beast or whatever. Elsa's story arc is taming that beast, taming that control of masculinity or whatever, taming that system. It's her powers within herself, the fear that she has of them. It's the system all of her life that's told her to hold it in, don't let anybody see or whatever, until she lets it go. That's her journey. Now, if that was the only story in the movie, if that was her journey and that was it, that'd be a horrible film, because that story alone does not resonate. That's what they tried to do with Captain Marvel, right? They took Elsa's story and they made it the only journey of the movie in Captain Marvel. They just had a woman who's been held down all of her life and has to learn that she can just let it go and be herself, and how amazing she already is. That's not a story. That's a secondary character, maybe. What makes Frozen work is Anna being there as well. And Anna finds a love interest. As much as you want to try and downplay Kristoff. She was Hans at first, and Hans is the traditional love interest, right? He has station, he has all the right moves, all the right manners. And people, a feminist reading of this film that tries to say that, oh, Hans is the patriarchy, and that's, the system trying to push women into these relationships where she goes out and finds Christoph on her own. No, that's not how to read that film at all. Hans is the system. Hans is the traditions, and she finds that they don't work. But what does work is not for her to go out and just not worry about a love interest. Not for her to go out and think, I'm a sister and I can do it for myself and I don't need no man in my life. No, she still wants a love. That's her personality makeup, and she finds Christoph. And you follow along with at first you follow along with Anna and Hans's quote unquote romance, the little whirlwind song they have, and that's about it. And at first, if you're going along with it, you think, oh, Disney tropes or whatever, that kind of works. But then you see her progress with Christoph, and you realize that something far deeper is happening there. So a deeper connection is made with somebody who is off-putting to her at first, and who doesn't follow traditional norms. Now, how does he not follow those traditional norms? If the feminists had their way with this reading, they would try to turn it into some way that Hans was a masculine, kind of patriarchal tradition. And Christoph is, some waif of a soy boy who, is easier or whatever. But that's not the case at all. Christoph's the one that is all man. I mean, he's the one, talking about smelly feet and all this kind of nonsense. This is the guy who's like pure guy, not the frilly foppish prince, and he's who she ends up falling for. That, as much as people try to play up Anna, or Elsa rather, that's not what makes the movie work. What makes the movie work, Elsa's a nice topping on that cake, but what makes the movie work is Elsa's story and Elsa's understanding and search of love within that. Then you have, I even heard, oh my gosh, this is how completely backwards thinking feminists have it. I read, it was shortly after Frozen was released, I think it was a Slate article. Some woman writes this article, this is how ridiculous she is. She's writing about her daughter, and how her daughter loves Frozen like most children did at the time, and they love that song, Let It Go. It's a good song. And she was writing about, the female empowerment of that song, and Elsa singing about how she was just going to let it go and not be held down by all of these systems and whatever the world wants, blah, 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 blah. Then she says, the one thing I don't like about it, though, is that during that song, she changes into this dress, which reveals some of her legs and is more form-fitting, and I don't like the sexualization of it. And I'm hoping my daughter will just take away the empowerment, but not the sexualization. Are you freaking kidding me? She was so brainwashed by feminist theory, by intersectional and third-wave feminism, desperate to find the male gaze everywhere, desperate to find patriarchy's oppression everywhere, that she took Elsa's transition in the mountain when she's all dressed for the winter with the long sleeves and everything like that, and she changes herself into that lovely Frozen dress. She took that transformation to be a sexualization. Are you freaking kidding me? And now we're tying it back around, unless you think I didn't have a plan. We're tying it back around to what I said at the beginning. That is not sexualization. That's an iconic feminine assertion. Elsa, in her little moment there, is saying, I don't need all of this stuff that the other people have told me I need, that the world and the system has told me I need. I don't need long sleeves in the cold because I'm not like them. The cold doesn't bother me anyway. That's right what she says. So she places herself into a dress that doesn't protect her from the cold because she doesn't need it, and it's form-fitting, and it reveals part of her body. It's revealing herself. Stop being so damn brainwashed and terrified of this great male gaze beast that you miss the point. You miss the point of this art when you approach every damn movie with an agenda and with a critical theory or whatever that tries to break down this film and use it for propaganda to perpetuate your agenda. That is not the point of art. Every dumbass academic in the academia world needs to have this driven through their thick freaking skulls. That's not art. Art needs to be approached on its own terms. Stop it with the critical theory nonsense. It's ridiculous. Okay, rant over. So that's all for today. I've got to go pick up some medicine for my daughter here, and I will be back with more. Do check out my own graphic novel. I will place the ad at the end of the video. Until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching. Do you like comics that are unafraid to portray women as feminine and men as masculine? Do you enjoy being entertained rather than preached to? If so, then you'll love my own graphic novel currently on Indiegogo. Tales from the Stacks is an anthology series in the vein of The Twilight Zone or Tales from the Crypt. It contains 3 uncanny tales to thrill and haunt you long after reading. With interior art by Dave T. and variant covers by John Malin, Kyle Ritter, and Kyung Lee, you have lots of options to choose from. You can find the link in the description below or search Indiegogo for Tales from the Stacks, and tell the comic industry you don't have to settle for their social agenda platforming. Thanks. And last but not least, don't forget that your Professor Geek now has a merch store. Check out the current options from t-shirts to magnets to the iconic Professor Geek coffee mug, and let me know if you'd like to see something else. The link is in the description, or you can go to cafepress.com/ProfessorGeek.